history and legacy. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Emerald Marie. I'm going to give you guys a little background about me and what we're doing tonight, and then we're going to introduce our icon that is here with us. So I'm a former Division I athlete. Similar to most of you ladies, I have experienced the highs, the struggles, the lessons that these sports have taught us. Basketball and track has always personally been my passion. And now with the Ball Fam app, we are creating a space where athletes at all levels can connect, share experiences, get resources, and talk honestly about what it means to play the games that we play and what our life looks like beyond them. Today, we are launching our very first conversation on this app, and I couldn't imagine a better guest to set the tone. We already know the name, but let me remind you all that she has contributed to the game. To be the first ever player to sign to the WNBA, a four-time WNBA champion, a three-time Olympic gold medalist, and a Hall of Famer. She's a trailblazer whose legacy changed women's basketball forever. Please help me welcome the one and only Sheryl Swoopes. First of all, I know you've probably heard that title and all of the accomplishments over and over back to you, but how does it feel watching that throwback montage video? Just do you look at it and be like, wow, or you're just like, this is the same old stuff?
No, girl, so many thoughts running through my head when I see the highlights and look at the videos. I was like, dang, first of all, I look so young. Second of all, I had a gazillion different hairstyles.
Yes.
But I will tell you the memories though are just incredible. And before we get into this conversation, Emerald, I want to say thank you to you, to AJ, to Baller Fam for I mean, you could have chosen anyone to be here on the first night. And so I'm truly honored. I'm super excited about the app, what it represents, what it stands for, and to the young women, the older women, everybody on here, thank you for being here. I hope this conversation will be something that all of you will be able to take something away from. And I just want it to be very interactive and engaging, and I'm excited to have the conversation with you. What's up, Kanisha?
Hey girl, hey.
Hi, girl.
Oh my gosh, it's been so long.
Girl, it's been 2 years. It ain't been that long. So,
That's
sorry, Kanisha and
long.
I did some work together for the Dallas Wings a couple of years ago.
Oh, I love
So,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah, yeah.
awesome.
I'm so
What
happy
we,
to see you on here.
what
Yes,
we
it's so
think,
good to see you.
what we
Okay,
think
sorry.
much of your time. No worries. I know it's lagging on my side a little bit. So first of all, we said this time and time again, you were the first woman to be signed to the WNBA. What are the immediate changes that you see in the game today compared to the time that you were playing? Like, what is one thing that you're like, man, during my time, I wish we had that. I know there's so many, but what is one thing?
Um, what's crazy is I think when I look at the game today, right, and where we started back in 1997, and to have comments and talk about the growth of the game, and the first thing people think is all of us, right, former players, that we're all like haters and we mad and we jealous and all the things. And I just want to set the record straight and say it's none of those things. Every single one of us are super excited, super thrilled to see where the game is, the growth of the game. I will say the thing that frustrates me is how people tend to forget about those of us, even before the W, right? Those of us who laid the path for the women to have what they have today. So when you ask the question about what do I see that they have today, that I'm like, man, I wish we had that. Um, the crazy thing is I could sit here and say charter flights, right? I mean, because it's difficult playing back-to-back games and flying commercial. And I remember we would play, just say we played in Houston on Friday night, and then we had to get up early Saturday morning, fly to LA because we had a back-to-back. And when you're flying commercial, like, it's hard, it's very hard. But overall, honestly, what I really am excited to see is just the eyes, right? Like people are finally paying attention to the women and appreciating the talent and appreciating just how good we are. Like the game's always been good. We just haven't had we didn't have the eyes on the game like they have today.
For sure. And it's funny that you bring up the charter flights and just how it affects you playing and then having to go through the airport and do commercial, because I think that's something that it was brought up a lot last season, and it was almost, when the W asks for certain things, it almost feels like people look at them crazy, like it's entitlement, or it's like, what are you complaining about now? But as I
Yeah.
watched that video that we just watched while we were waiting for folks to join, and just hearing you had your child at the start of that season, it's like, do we forget, like, women bear children and literally have to manage this schedule and deal with our bodies. A charter flight, to your point, that is something that's like, yeah, I mean, I had a child and I have to arrange things, and that time spent, and all of it affects the ability to cut down time and play and be
Yeah.
efficient. So I think that's one thing that it definitely is a good point that you bring up.
But we do all the things though. Like as women, what don't we do?
Facts.
But
Yeah.
to your point, I can remember playing, right? Having my son and like being a mom because I'm a mom before I'm anything else. And I love seeing how many women today, not only are they embracing it, but the league is embracing it, the teams are embracing it, sponsors are embracing it. Like it's something special to say I am a mom, a wife, and I'm an athlete. And
Yep.
to be able to balance all of those things and be very successful at all of them, right? Not having to make a sacrifice one way or another. That's another thing that has absolutely changed and grown when, the league started. And when I had my son, we didn't have maternity leave. We didn't have our own rooms, like all those things. I was having to share a room with a teammate with my child. Right.
Wow.
So if I wanted my own room, I had to pay the difference for that. But the crazy thing is that we just did it, right? Like you don't know what you don't know. And I always say somebody had to be the first to go through all the different things that we went through so that the ladies today understand and know what they should be fighting for, what they should be asking for, so that they can have better things than we had when the league started.
And that's a great point, because you mentioned even a few moments ago, like, there is this misconception that when you have an opinion or criticize anything that's going on today, and you're from the group that was prior, that it's an envious thing, or it's a judgmental thing. And I think we have to do a better job of bringing up the past players that paved the way and broke barriers. In school, we learn about history for a reason, so it doesn't repeat
Yeah.
itself, right? And so that you can stop things where it's at. And a lot of these players today, I think they would they would probably be surprised to know, like, you're not the first to experience this, and this frustration that's going on now. It may look a little different because it's a different chapter, but it's something that during your time advocating for it was still a need then. So we've came so far, but still, obviously, and we're going to get into the conversations that happened this week, but we have so far to go too.
Okay, wait to get in that conversation.
I know. I'm
Good.
like, I want to jump on right now. Because the timing of that was insane. It was
Yeah.
so crazy. But we'll get into that shortly. I want to talk a little bit more about the development. So when you were in college, headed to the W, right? It looks a lot
Mhm.
different for girls today. And with NILs being a thing, which I love because athletes are getting paid. I know I didn't have that during my time either. Do you feel like NILs is helping the women prepare for the W, or is there a little bit too much distraction right now? Because I do find right now there's so much emphasis on what the ladies are doing off the court, and I don't know if this is because of social media as well. It's kind of a two layered question, but how do you feel like NILs are affecting the pro level and the development, because girls are building their careers as business women in college?
Whew. I I have a lot of different thoughts and opinions on this one.
Mm,
The first thing that I will say is I am all for players getting their bag.
yeah.
Like, get your money, right? But in saying that, what I do think happened, and this is just my opinion, I think the NCAA should have thought about this better as far as just saying, yep, players can be paid. There was like no cap on it, no rules. And then when they saw how much money these players were going to be able to make, they then wanted to come back and try to put a cap on it or try to change the rules or try to go back and renegotiate or whatever. Here is what I will say. I think, especially in college, I think athletes should be required to take some type of financial management course or class, because you are now making, in some instances, especially on the women's side, you're making more money in college than professional WNBA players are making. Right? Not a lot of them, but Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, like you can throw in a few names and say, yeah, they made more money in college than some of the WNBA players. I think what happens is a lot of the players, when they get the money, especially depending on your background and how you grew up, and if you didn't come from anything. So I remember when I first signed my very first Nike contract, I was like, oh my gosh, like I got money. So let's just go buy all the things that I always wanted. When in reality, what I should have been saying was, help me invest, help me save, right? And plan for my future. And I do think that athletes should be required to take some type of financial management course, just so they're prepared for the future. The other part that you said, why is it when it comes to women, they want to judge what we're doing off the court versus on the court? And with the men, it's like, man, did you see what he's doing over here and there? He's investing here, he's doing all these things off the court, and it's good to see. And I love it. I'll tell you one player that I think does a phenomenal job of promoting her brand, because you are a brand. And that's something that I think athletes need to understand. You are your own brand. And if you don't protect your brand and take care of your brand, nobody else is going to do that for you. I think Angel Reese, even in college, I think she does a phenomenal job of understanding her brand and who
Absolutely.
she is and marketing herself. And it doesn't really matter what the critics say, what they think. She is going to be unapologetically who she is, which I love, which I also think is what brands look for. They want authenticity. And
Right.
that to me is one thing Angel does a really good job of. Um, so do I think it's hurting our game? I don't think it hurts the game once we get to the pro level.
Right.
I can see how it can start to affect the collegiate game, because
Yeah.
you're going to have some players who are going to make a whole lot more money than other players. And in my opinion, you should. Like, if you are the star and if you are the one that's, having to do all the things, you should be compensated more than a player who never plays. But I
Mhm.
can see how that situation could start to cause problems for the team. And that's
Right.
the only place I would say I think it's hurting the game. But overall, I'm like, the bigger the bag, the better.
I agree with you because I think long over are the days of you getting a participation trophy, right? It's like
Yes.
if you are bringing
Yes.
numbers, if people are buying your jersey, which this is what we wanted, but I do think it does create these dynamics. I think the last 2 years was a hard transition from the players that were killing it in college, making money. Because honestly, let's be honest, if you come from a poverty mindset or just in like, and you get this type of money, it changes your worries change. Angel got to pay back her mother's mortgage, right? And I think what's
100%.
happening is what we're seeing in the W, our ladies are kind of got a little bit more like chip on their shoulder and some confidence, because when your bills are satisfied and you feel a little bit more emboldened to speak, because it's like you're not on survival mode, you get a different person. And that's with anything. I know we
Yep.
know that money a little funny. It's harder to walk around with your head high because your
No
resources are
doubt.
limited, and that's just a fact. So you can see how that has affected even a confidence level. And I think some people kind of like seeing athletes traditionally like hungry to the point where it's like, even I see this a lot with NFL, like I feel like they, when they get drafted, we hear the stories of being from the slums and needing the money, and so I do think that it has affected the game, both positive but and negative. And apps like this, the Baller Fam, as Cheryl's mentioned about financial management, we really want to provide that. Like, we want to have a place where you guys can come in here and talk about your mental health, or if there's someone in here that does some type of financial advising for athletes, like, we are that resource to help grow your career. Even with NILs, you don't have to be an Angel Reese to make money in this game. And we hope that some girls in here who are in college can go in the chat and say, hey, I see a partnership for $500 with Fenty. That's what we want this to be, a way where you guys can also earn and learn.
Listen,
So
that's Emerald, sorry, because that's a really good point. I think so many times, we get so caught up in watching what everybody else is doing. And in our minds, we say, because I talked about Angel, where people are like, well, I could never sign whatever kind of deal that is Angel sign. Well, maybe that deal isn't for you,
right.
right? That deal is for Angel. And what's for you is for you. And to your point, do you know how much an extra $500 in college would have done for me?
Absolutely.
Right. So when I think about what this app can provide, and where we are today when it comes to NIL and finances and things like that, I think it's a great platform for these young athletes to be able to come on and have a conversation, right? I wish I would have had something like this when I was in college, because believe it or not, even your teammates, there's only certain things you're going to want to talk to your teammates about,
Yeah.
right? And so it would be so nice to be able to have a community, to have a space where you can go and you can, one, maybe you just want to listen. And you will be surprised at how many people probably experiencing or going through some of the same things that you're going through. And this gives you a place where you can have that conversation, a safe space, right? And you can go, you can have that conversation, you can talk about it, you can listen. I love everything that this app is going to bring for these young women.
Absolutely. And I think in this day and age where a safe space to speak freely, I find freedom of speech these days feels like such a hot topic in so many sectors, not even just sports. But all of us as women athletes that played at collegiate level, we know that struggle. And like you said, an extra $500 makes a world of difference. Like, I was a D1 track runner and I was bartending while in school. And when I think about how that affected me, I had 5 a.m. lift. I think back, like, how did I even do that?
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
5 a.m. lift, I had practice, and
You
I
just did
experienced, yeah, because right.
it.
We
Yeah.
bear children, we go play, we do it all. But the support needs to be there, and yeah, and even another topic I want to touch on as well, because I just seen a podcast with Andrew McCartry speaking about this, about the pensions and healthcare, right?
Hmm.
And all of those things that still need to be advocated for, because you guys you're putting your body to the test, and yes, you're having children, but you're also playing this game and getting hurt at high levels. And the lack of protection as the game continues is still an ongoing conversation. And how are you wrapping your head around that? Like, how are you managing all these years after playing, and pensions and healthcare? Are there resources that, since these changes have happened in the industry, are helping you now, or are you still kind of like, that's still something that we need to figure out with the W?
Oh no, we absolutely need to figure it out. And you know, it goes back to something I said earlier about understanding that you are your own brand, right? Because from college to the pros, you go all out for your team, for your coaches, for your school, in the W, for your team, your coach, your city. And when you're done, it's like, thank you very much for your service. Now on to the next,
Right.
right? And to your point, you're putting your body through a lot every single day, not just the games. And what people don't understand and realize, when you watch the games, like, it's entertainment. And so we're coming to give you that entertainment you're looking for a couple hours. And people don't have any idea what's going on behind the scenes,
Yeah.
right? Like all the aches, the pains, the fights, the arguments, the tears, all of those things. But you're not supposed to see that. And so when I think about the WNBA and all of the retired players who don't have, like, we don't have a pension, we don't have health care. And I know a lot of retired players who don't have medical insurance because they just can't afford it. And so when I think about the new CBA and a lot of the things that these current players are fighting for, as they should, the one thing I have said, I've talked to NECA, I've mentioned it to her, because all of you someday will be retired and you'll be sitting in this seat where you're like, we need a pension, we need health care. That's the only thing that I have asked for the current players to fight for. That's not just for myself or us, but it's for all of the players who will soon be retired. So when I talk about understanding your own brand, that's part of it.
Sure.
You have to prioritize yourself. You have to put yourself first. And I don't care if you're the star of the team, I don't care if you don't play at all, you have to prioritize you. Because
Absolutely.
when your time is up and you're done, it's going to be okay, I got to go figure out what's next for me because nobody else is going to do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope that these current players are listening, because I think when you're 20 something years old, retirement's like, I figured it out when I get there. But to your point, anything can happen. And it's something that, I hope that they take heed to it and fight for it now. Um,
It's hard, right? And I'm speaking from experience. When the
yeah,
WNBA started in 97 and I was pregnant with my son, um the only thing on my mind was, okay, I want to have a healthy child and I want to come back and play,
right,
right? And I remember having conversations with my agent, with my manager, saying, okay, you need to put away X amount of dollars for when you retire.
right,
And at the age of 25, to your point, who's really thinking about that? In my mind, you know what I said? Well, I'm only 25, so I know I'm going to play professionally for at least 10 years. So in my mind, I said 10 years from now is when I'll start saving. 10 years from now is when I'll start thinking about my retirement. And you know
right,
what happened was that 10 years came and I was like, okay, well, I'm 35. I'll play another 5 years and then I'll do it. Long story short, I retired and I still hadn't saved anything. Right.
sure,
And so now I went from having everything, right? Playing, having the insurance, all the things, to now I'm retired. And it was like, oh shit. Sorry, y'all, I had to say that. Because that was my mindset was, now what?
yeah,
Can't I can't go back to the team. I can't go to the league and say, help me, because I'm done, or they were
yeah,
done with me.
yeah.
So to your point, and to everyone on here, especially like the young women who are playing ball, I always say, start planning today for the rest of your life. Because at some point the ball is going to stop bouncing, right?
Mhm.
Whether that's you get injured, you get cut from a team, you're not good enough anymore. It's going to happen. It happens to everybody. And so if you start planning that today, when that time comes, you'll be ready for it.
How did you manage like your mental health with your identity shift after? Like, how did you manage just trying to figure out what's next career wise or for yourself after building such a legacy and a name?
It was hard. It was really hard. And you know what's crazy is I think a lot of people, when I say that, they're like, how in the world could it be hard for you? You're Sheryl Swoopes, right? And first of all, when I played, we didn't talk about mental health. It just like it existed, but it didn't. And I remember having my son and going through all the things of, oh my gosh, this is way too much for me. Like seriously having so many thoughts of wanting to quit. Gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But not having anybody to talk to, because it was, again, which is why a space like this is so important. If I would have had a space like this when I was playing and I felt safe to come and share and talk about my mental health and what I was feeling and what I was going through, because then it was just like, okay, you take care of your child, but we need you to be ready to go. And I did it. That's what I did. But when I retired, I knew I was ready, like I was done, but I had no idea what I was going to do. And you know why? Because I waited until the very end
Right.
to start thinking about retirement and like what's next for me. So I will be very honest with you because I think that's what this space is all about. When I retired, it took me a good 3 to 5 years to figure out like what I wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
outside of playing basketball. And I knew that like my passion has always been like girls and young women, like whatever that looks like. So I knew I wanted to stay involved with the sport in some capacity, but I didn't know what that looked like. I knew I was like I don't want to go coach. That's not what I want to do right now. Um so I did a lot of speaking, I did a lot of camps, and then I finally got a chance. My husband was like you should go coach because I had an opportunity to do that. So I did it, but coaching to me is very different today than it was back when I played. And especially with NILs and the transfer portal and all of that. And it takes up all of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, you don't really have a life. And I love doing all the other things that I do. But if there is one thing I want people on here to take away from anything I say tonight, I don't care who you are or what you're going through. Like, don't ever be afraid to ask for help. And that was one thing that just because of pride, right? I was like, good, I got it, I'll figure it out. And as many times as I had people reach out to me and they were like, how can I help? What do you need? And I was like, oh, I'm good, I got it. And then I hung up the phone and I was like, why didn't I tell this person that I needed help? Because that was someone that I trusted. And I think so many times we get in our own way, right? It's like, I got it. I'm strong, I'm tough, I'm all the things, I'll figure it out. But whatever it is you're going through, and if you have that one person that you trust with your life, like don't ever be afraid to ask for help because life be lifing.
It does. And we appreciate you for even just being so vulnerable and sharing that because and the reason that I even asked that question is I think a lot of people when they leave college, let alone college, they feel lost because they worked up to this point to get a scholarship, let alone being at the pro level where now you're a household name. Now there's pressure. Now it's like, and to be really transparent, I've worked in entertainment industry for quite a while. So I see people who've moved here and made it far. And then it's like, there's a down season and they just want to
Hmm.
stop. But because they have this sensationalized name, it's like, well, what if I just want to be a real estate agent or go do something over here? Because I don't want to coach because you've already given your
Yep.
life and your time to the youth and to the fans and now you need to go back and have and see your family. And it feels like with women when they're done playing it's either being a TV host or commentator in sports or coaching. It feels like it's like those two things and there's only so many positions and
Yeah.
they're not hiring everyone to be a WNBA coach. We watched Lisa Leslie say on Angel Reese
Or
podcast.
they're hiring people they shouldn't be hiring. So, but that's
Exactly.
a different conversation.
Right. So even the opportunities are few and far between. So I could imagine just how the identity shift affected you. And again, people make sports figures bigger than life. And I understand though you guys have accomplished so many things. You're human first, like you're human, you're
Yes.
woman, and
Yes.
people kind of make figures and public figures be this polarizing figure that is like, no, I bleed and I cry and I feel alone and all those things. And I couldn't even imagine now this generation with
Mm.
social media and being highlighted, or even when you say or anyone makes a comment commentating on something, it turns into a headline and it's like that's not even what I meant or how I meant it. And that's why I am excited about this space because I think we all kind of have experienced different sides of this sport and what it means to be a woman playing. And even listening to you say the pressure to be strong. Like if we all played sports, we probably have a little bit of like a tomboy in us where we were like, I can run faster than the boys and we can do these things. And sometimes that carries over with
Yeah.
needing to be tough. And it's like, no, you don't need to be tough right now. you can just be
Yeah.
vulnerable and be real because we are experiencing the similar things, you know.
Well, the thing is, and I don't care if you're an athlete in college, pros, but I'll go to college right now. If you're an athlete, people look at you and that's that's all they see, right? Is, oh, you're on the basketball team or you're on the track team or the football team. And yes, I am, but I'm more than that. And I think so many times people, I always say, like, just let me be human because I'm human and I'm gonna make mistakes. And sometimes, you know what? I just want to be like everybody else. I want to go to the grocery store and yeah, I'm not gonna wear my bonnet, but if I wanted to, let me wear my bonnet. But y'all don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be wearing a bonnet to the grocery store. Um, I just wanna be me. You know what I mean? I wanna laugh, I wanna cry, I wanna have my opinion. I don't want to do my hair, like all the things that anybody else wants to do, and I don't want to be judged for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking for asking for help, we have to move to Nafisa and her calling out the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert. And I mean, that speech was incredible and she touched on so many things. I would love to hear your initial reaction hearing her get up there and use her time to read that statement. What went through your mind when you seen it?
Oh, a lot. Um, the crazy thing is, so many people, and I've seen this on social media, so many people wanted to ask, like, why did she do that now? And my response to that was, why does it matter when she did it? Right? I thought she made some very, very, very valid points. And my first thought was about damn time
Mm,
that somebody called her out.
mhm.
Um, Listen, no, nobody's perfect, but you cannot be a commissioner of any league and not give a damn about your players. That to me, that's your current players, and that's even former players. Even if you weren't the commissioner, you are the commissioner of the league. And what upset me even more was Kathy's response,
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
because I read her response and it was just like, so you're not denying the stuff that Fee said. And to think, because I always say no one player is bigger than the team.
Right.
So as a commissioner, to think that you are bigger than the players is an issue for me.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to say that what Fee said is 100% correct because I wasn't there, right? Like I wasn't in the room. But the fact that Kathy didn't deny it, I'm like, there has to be some truth to it. But to say to Fee that the players should be on their knees thanking her for the media rights deal that she got them. Forgive me for 1 second while I say, who the are you?
Yep.
To say to the players, y'all should be on your knees thanking me. First of all, I have a big, big, big problem with that. And
Mhm.
then to say, when it comes to the officiating and all those things, that only the losing team complains, which isn't true. And the last thing to say, when she asked about Paige, Caitlin, and Angel,
Mhm.
to say that Caitlin Clark, of all players, to
Yeah.
say that Caitlin Clark should be thankful to her that she has a league to play in. Otherwise, she wouldn't be making the money that she's making. I honestly, I just don't even know. I don't know how you brought yourself to even say any of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the ladies in the chat, if you did not see this today, I just want to give context to it. I realized didn't properly introduce that topic. So, to summarize what was said, basically she had stated she had a conversation with the WNBA commissioner, and she said, "Are you going to address the bad calls that have been happening that are leading to injuries that are really affecting these players and just leading to games being upside too?" And so the lack of accountability of all the issues starting from the top led her to sit down at this statement and basically say, year after year, there's been inconsistent lack of accountability from our leaders. And essentially, she continued to say that her response was Caitlin should be grateful that she makes 16 million off the court and because of the platform that the WNBA gives her. Now we all know, we've heard Caitlin Clark's name all through her college years and the brand that she has developed and the money that she was making. One can argue that the
Yeah.
WNBA can't really take all that credit. And she just went on to continue to say that it's so physical. People are getting injuries from the lack of calls, and to basically attribute that to saying, well, the losing teams are the only ones that have a problem with that. That's not true, you know.
No.
And it seems like right now, every time a WNBA player speaks up or says even a comment, they get fined. There's multiple players that have their podcast or tweet something and they get fined. And I think it's so harmful because these ladies are, one, freedom of speech, right? And it's like if they say a comment and they get fined, if they want change and they get fined, the everything starts from the top. And if the commissioner is not taking accountability, it's like and to your point, her response was so terrible. It took no accountability for the fifth time. And it was just painful to watch, but I thought it was a brave speech. I thought it was needed. And to your point, people kept saying, why now? Does it have something to do with the loss? Anyone can see if you follow the WNBA that losing has nothing to do with it. Everyone has reached a boiling point. Even her coach getting suspended and acting how she did, I don't think that it was right. However, everyone reaches a boiling point, you know, and so I feel like this is the thing that's gonna make it uncomfortable, and that's when change happens. So
100%. Um, you know, I think for me, knowing where things are with the CBA negotiations, I just think it makes it very interesting when they go back to the table to continue negotiating.
mhm.
Um, I always say that we all make mistakes, right? Nobody's perfect. Um, but this isn't like the first incident that players have had with Kathy. And I saw someone put it in the comments. Elena Deladon. She even said, "Yeah, I'm not even really sure Kathy knows I'm retired." Like she never reached out to her. And listen, I think you should do that for all of your players, but especially your big name players. Like, how can Elena Deladon retire and never hear from the commissioner
Yeah.
on happy retirement or thanks for everything? I don't know. I think what Fee did yesterday is only the beginning of more players that will come out and speak out on just different things and different incidents and situations that they've had with Kathy.
And I think that she was a perfect person to do this too. I know that she's affiliated with the Players Association
Yeah.
to be able to be that in between communicator in speaking to the higher ups and hearing her teammates and just experiencing it herself. Um, I want to kind of shift gears and get some of the folks that have been watching this conversation in. So I wanted to go ahead and pull some folks up to ask Sheryl Swoopes some questions. And so let me see who we have. I want to start off with Ashley White, I believe, had a question in the chat.
You're on mute.
Okay, first of all, shout out to you. Thank you, Emerald, for this, and big shout out to you. Want to give you your flowers, Miss Cheryl.
Thank you, Ashley.
So my question is, so I always ask my guests on my podcast where I share women's stories and female athletes get a chance. I always ask my guests a question. When it comes to representation, I believe representation matters, especially both on and off the court. Especially like say people looking up to somebody. my question for you is, when it comes to representation, how important is representation for you, especially as an athlete, a Black woman, and a mother?
I mean, I agree with you. I am a firm believer in like see her, be her, and it's a lot easier to connect or relate to someone that looks like you. I just think that's the reality, and especially in the world we're living in today. Um, I think representation is extremely important. I think it's huge. And that's something that for myself growing up, I didn't get to see a lot of women playing basketball. It just wasn't on television. But the one woman that I had that was a constant in my life was my mom. So to be able to watch my mom work and to watch my mom wear so many different hats and be very great at all of them, just inspired me and encouraged me to be able to do the same thing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great question, great answer. All right, up next we have, and I love this name, I give her an extra shout out, Dr. Emerald Fulmore.
Of course,
Okay,
you love the name.
hey, another Emerald.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Cheryl. Good evening,
Hi,
ladies.
how are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. So excuse me for my voice, dealing with allergies, but I'm gonna make it. My question is, well, currently let me say that I'm newly licensed as a WNBA agent, alongside being a professor, mother of a teenage daughter. I've been an athlete all my life, worked in athletic compliance for over 18 years. So
Okay.
like sports is my whole entire existence. And we talked about advocacy, big advocates for our women. And I will say specifically our women of color, through my organization Empower with Purpose. But my question for you is, as a woman of color, I've been finding it disheartening that I'm doing research now on identifying other women of color who are agents in the WNBA space.
Mm.
So I guess my question to you is, how can us as a culture, as women, um, be more involved in bringing up our young women who would be interested in this space of environment in terms of career path, and not to deter away from it? Because I know, for me, I've been working hard with building a women's power huddle, with bringing in our young women that are collegiate athletes into the
Mhm.
space to kind of give them those opportunities. But I think in the back of their minds that they still see it as a male dominated space. And I would just want to kind of get your thoughts, on that type of experience. If you've had or known anyone that have maybe been interested in becoming a WNBA agent and that just kind of steered away from it.
Well, I would say first of all, I think you're doing the right thing, right? Back to Ashley's point, representation matters.
Hmm.
So to be able to see someone like yourself doing it, then you'll have more people who will look at it and say, okay, there is someone that looks like me.
Yeah.
The other thing I will tell you why I think it really hasn't happened and it's starting to more, because
Hmm.
when the WNBA first started, and full transparency, there really wasn't any money to be made
Yeah.
representing WNBA players. Right. So a lot of people, especially women of color, was like, that's not for me. That's not where I want to be.
Yeah.
And now the crazy thing is that you're seeing more big time firms now move over to the WNBA side because they're finally saying, oh, okay, so there actually is money to be made on this side, which drives me crazy.
Yeah. It's like a light
Um,
bulb is coming on.
yeah, but you know what? I would tell you also, I know there are other like agencies or firms that are looking to maybe partner with or bring on female agents. I'm not saying that's what you should or shouldn't do, but if
Mhm.
you're looking at trying to sign more W players, right? that might not be a bad place to start until
Mhm.
you can build up your clientele, build up your name, and then you go and do your own thing. My personal opinion is I would much rather see our WNBA players sign with female agents and be represented by female agents than the ones who are just not catching on. And now they're like, oh, well, let me come over here and get some of this money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because
But
I am
thank you.
affiliated with the
Thank
sports
you.
agency. I'm with A Sports Group, and it's an all black sports agency. And we actually one of the young ladies who does branding and marketing. I actually kind of talked her into getting her license as well because we need the representation, like you said.
Okay, let me add one more thing, Emerald, before we move on. Because this is a real space. And
Yeah.
y'all, I think I told y'all in the beginning, that's what I'm going to give you. Let me also tell you this. There is this misconception, this, I don't know, something where athletes, especially our Black athletes, feel that they'll be better represented by our white counterparts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And either they have better connections, or when they go sit at the table, they're more apt to listen to them and negotiate
Right.
with them than they are with a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I said thank you, like thank you for being in this space, because we absolutely need more Black women in this space. And I'll tell you one that I absolutely love, and I'm glad she's doing it. She's not a Black woman, but she's a woman of color, and that's Tisha Pinachero. Right? Tisha played the game. Tisha now is an agent. Tisha is representing some amazing talent in this league. And so I just think it's a matter of time before you two are representing more players. That's kind of been, I don't know, that's just kind of been the thing for forever. If you
Right.
sat
Right.
down and you talk to a lot of the players, that's this, and that's why I say this misconception, because I think Black women are just as qualified and just as intelligent and just as smart to go sit across from some CEO with a big brand and get the same type of a deal.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. So, but thank you for that. Absolutely.
Welcome.
And hopefully I get to meet her because I'm connected with one of my good friends who works with USA basketball. So I just attended their event down in Houston. So I'll be at the Final Four. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Definitely super congrats to all that you do. Like that's an example right there of taking the steps to make a difference. You know, we all
Yeah.
can contribute to the space. And, you know, something that Cheryl and I spoke about the other day, actually, when we spoke, was these women spaces being led by women, because who knows better what we need sometimes than us. And I think I want to acknowledge that there are a lot of men that do their thing in the space, but it's nice to have more of us being in the room, being contracts, being really in the development stage of things. And I think sometimes a lot of women do get behind men, and we are trying hard to make more spaces for women and created by women.
100%.
Yeah, but we love our allies. We love our men that help, but for sure I would encourage more.
Right. No, I'm
Um,
just playing.
I want to move on to the next young lady, Kanisha Godfrey.
Woo,
Hi,
that's me.
Cheryl.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hi. How
So
are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in Florida now. I'm back home. I get to see my family once in a while.
No,
So,
happy for you.
yes, it's great. So as you know, I'm a student athlete and I also try to do a little bit of work in sports. And I know you mentioned to us like we need to realize to put ourselves first and know that we're our own brand and kind of start planning today for the rest of our lives. So I was
Hmm.
just gonna ask you, like, if you were a hooper coming up in this era, like, what would be your main focuses?
Um, ooh, well, it's definitely different today than it was back then. Um, so here's the first thing I would do is identify, uh-oh, there, I was like, I lost y'all. First of all, identify like brands that you are passionate about. Because I learned as I got older, You know,
Mhm.
when I was younger and first got in the league, any brand that came to me to endorse them and represent them, girl, I was like, yep, 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 yep. Even if it was something I wasn't passionate about. And as I got older, that completely changed. My mom used to say to me, all money ain't good money. Right. I was like, huh?
That's true.
But it's true. So
Mhm.
what I would say to you is, first of all, identify brands that you're passionate about, because we're talking about NIL deals for all of you.
Mhm.
Even for people on here who might be thinking, yeah, either I don't play very much or no one's interested in me. There is something for everybody, right? Because you're not just an athlete. There's
Right.
way more, and I'm talking to you specifically right now because I think I got to know you a little bit. Like,
Mhm.
there are so many brands that would love to have you tied to them. So you have to identify brands that you're passionate about and what you feel like works for you. And then the
Mhm.
other thing I would say is, don't wait for those brands to come to you.
Mhm.
Like, y'all are so good with social media today. That's how so much stuff happens nowadays, is on social media.
Mhm.
So don't wait for them to come to you. You identify them. You don't be afraid to ask. Go find them, right? And let them get to know Kanisha, the person, not just the athlete.
Right.
After that, I would tell you that you have to start planning your future. Like, what does that look like for you? Even I'm 54 years old and I still like make like 3-year goals for myself. And right now I'm like, a year from now, this is what I will be doing, not what I want to be doing. This is what I will be doing. And then I say, well, if I'm going to be doing that, how am I going to make that happen? I
Mhm.
just think it's so important that I'm a visual person. Like, I write stuff down, but I just think it's very important that you really focus on like your 3-year goals. What is that? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. You said
And
3-year
never,
goals?
yeah, that's what I do. I mean, I'm older than you, Kanisha, so I got to keep mine. You can go 5 years, but I'm just saying.
Relax.
But and also when you do that, don't be afraid to go back to those goals and be like, yeah, I don't know. Right. And what I mean by that is they got to be realistic goals. Because
Right.
sometimes we sit down and we write stuff down that we think people want us to do or people want us to write down, when in reality, that's not what you really want to do, or that's not very realistic. That's not going to help anybody.
That's so true. That's so true.
Nisha, thank you so much for that question. And I also want to add to that. Recently, I had a meeting with someone who literally knows the ins and outs of NILs. And he said something similar to what Cheryl just said. You guys should really start posting like real products that you use. Like if you're just like, I go to the store and I
Yep.
use this foam wrap every day to my for my hair, start doing that and start tagging, because when you guys get older and start to grow, those brands, like they will start to look in your Instagram. Oh, she's been tagging us, or she's been using that foam spray, and you'll never know what comes out of it. I work with a lot of brands and do brand deals personally, and that is something that like she's spot on. And that way it's just authentic, and you're not trying to become something. You're
Yes. Yes.
all right. So I'm
Yep.
gonna go ahead and grab Dara Sky next for her question.
Hi, it's Dara, like Sarah,
Sarah.
the D.
Dara,
Yep,
Yes.
got
Sarah.
Yes, hi, thank you. I just want to thank y'all for having me on here. I did do a little research on you before I came on, and I saw that you went JUCO, and I am a JUCO baby. I love, like, it just gave me another opportunity. I didn't have anything coming out of high school, so I was kicked off my high school team. So JUCO was like, I loved it because I feel like I work better under pressure. But I also felt that pressure of like, okay, am I gonna get an offer today? Am I gonna get an
Yeah.
offer today? Am I gonna get an offer today? So I just want to know, like, when you, number one, why did you decide to go JUCO? Do you recommend it today? I know there's like a lot going on with if you like go D1, you get to 2 years, but I know there's like more going on with that. And then like when you were playing, did you know like, okay, these are my 2 years. I'm just gonna come hoop, win and then go win more and then go win more and then go like, did you know that? Or were you kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen after these 2 years, if that makes sense?
Um, yeah, I knew that.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah.
No, no, no. I'm gonna elaborate. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
like
elaborate. So, okay, so here's the deal for those who don't know. I initially signed a letter of intent to go play at the University of Texas in Austin. So I went there. I was there for 6 days and was like, I got homesick and was like, this is not where I want to be. So back then, if you transferred, you had to sit out a year. If you went from D1 to D1. And me sitting out wasn't an option. I was like, I don't want to sit out. So that's how I ended up at a JUCO. So I went to South Plains Junior College, which was literally about 35, 40 minutes from my hometown. Um, but I will tell you, if I had to do it all over again, I would do the same thing. I wouldn't go to Texas first. I would go to JUCO. And I think so many times JUCOs get a bad rap because people are like, well, you went to JUCO. They think two things. Either you're not good enough to go straight Division 1, or you're not smart enough to go Division 1. What I loved about my JUCO experience was it taught me like the balance of being a true student athlete. Because when you're in high school, it's like it's high school, right? And then when you go to college, you don't have mom, dad, you don't have anybody there telling you here's what you're supposed to do, where you need to be, all the things. And so for me, it taught me how to be a student first, but it also allowed me to really work on my game to be better. Because in high school, like I was like the best player on my team in the city, all the things. And when you go to college, like not only are you playing against quicker, faster, taller, smarter, like you have to really focus on your game and what you have to work on to get better. Initially, I said I'll go play JUCO for 1 year and then I'll leave. My experience was so incredible. It was so good. I was like, oh no, I could use another year, not only to get better as a basketball player, but also to work on my grades and figure out what I wanted to do, what I wanted my major to be, all those things. And when I say I knew it was going to happen, here's why I say that. I don't say that to be like cocky or any of that, but I knew that because I know me, right? Like nobody is ever going to outwork me. Nobody's ever going to be better than me. And I always felt like somebody somewhere was putting in a little bit more work than me. And that's what motivated me to, even the days when I didn't want to put in extra work in the gym, I was like, oh no, I'm going to do it. Because I always wanted to be the best at everything I did. So when I say I knew that it was gonna happen, it's because I know me. I know my work ethic. I know how determined I am. I know what's important to me. And so what I would say to you is also don't get so caught up in like what's next. Get caught up in like right now, where you're at, what you're doing. Because like I said earlier, what's meant for you, and I really truly believe this, that's why I say it, it's gonna happen. If it's for you, it's going to happen. What JUCO are you at?
Well, I'm not in school anymore, but I
Oh,
did
where
go.
did you go to?
I played for Harcum in Philly,
Okay.
and then I played for Hartford out of Bel Air, Maryland, which is like right outside of Baltimore. But it was
What
the
do you
best.
do?
It was the best thing for me. Like I recommend it to a lot of the girls I coach and train now who don't have options. And I also like I feel like you have to genuinely have a love for the game. Like I have players that are teeter-tottering. Like I kind of want to go to school. I'm like, you can't kind of go, like you got to
Yes.
go and be in it, and then you don't want to commit to they're paying 30 to 40,000. You can't stop or you're going to be $40,000 in debt. So I'm
Yep.
like, try JUCO. You can make payments, like it's very affordable. Like you said, it's kind of like a dog fight. It's like I'm grown, I have an apartment, they don't have dorms. It's like it threw me into the real world, and it just helped me kind of balance. So when I did go to my 4 year, I feel like I was a little bit more mature. I know I was
Mm-hmm.
older, but I felt more mature. Like, oh,
Yep.
I don't have to think about food. I got the calf. I got a place to sleep. I don't have to pay bills. Like, I was like, this is like I was in heaven. So, but I just wanted to know how you felt, like if you would have done it again, or I recommend it to so many people. I think it's so slept on. So, yeah,
I loved it. I did.
yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. I think JUCO gets a rap sometimes that it shouldn't, and I think it's such a good development, like you said, as an adult in college, but also for your game. It weeds out who's serious too. I want to grab some more people so you guys can raise your hand. I think we have Gigi. I'm gonna grab her. I see her hand raised.
Hi, Cheryl, and thank you so much for this, setting this up today. You mentioned something that really struck a chord with me that I've been researching for my grad studies, and it was talking about mental health and when you don't have anyone to talk to. So I wanted to know what programs does the NBA have currently across the board in place to support players' mental health, their overall quality of life, and transitioning after basketball? What is life after basketball? Because I did find that some teams have some people, but it's not afforded to every team. So, and then you got an app, but what happens when I want to communicate with somebody and not get on an app? So is there a program in place, or is that something that you would recommend that someone start and advocate for the W? Thank you, ma'am.
So, first of all, thanks for the question. I I do believe each team now has like a team psychologist, I think. We didn't have any of that when I was playing. Um, but I really want to address the transition part for you. To my knowledge, I don't really know what program is in place for that in the W. I do know on the NBA side, they have a lot of different programs that help their players transition into the real world. Um, I have had several conversations with a few people at the league office about how much that's needed, because I don't think people really truly understand. And I know our identity is not basketball players, right? But I'll use myself for an example. When you've been doing that, I started playing ball when I was 7. I retired from the WNBA when I was 40. So when you've been playing basketball your entire life, and that last time you dribble a basketball or you take that shot and you walk away, like it's hard. It becomes immediately like, and I don't care who you are, right? It just becomes a thing of, dang, like I just took my last shot or I just dribbled the basketball for the last time. See, this that makes me emotional because um I know how many players struggled transitioning from the W to the real world. So Nike started this program and it's called WIN, which is Women in Nike. So they started this program like 6 years ago. And what it is for retired WNBA players, they place them in a position at Nike. And so I joined that program 5 years ago. And it was one of the best things that I'd ever done because it actually teaches you about corporate America. And that's something that I would love to see the WNBA incorporate some kind of way. Now, granted, there are some players there who are making the millions and millions of dollars that it's not going to be an issue for them when they retire. But that's not everybody's reality, right? There are players who will play until they're 35, 36 years old, and they're still going to have something to do when they retire. And for all the young ladies on here, it goes back to me talking about you being your own brand and understanding who you are and focusing on you so that when that time comes for the transition period, you'll be prepared for that. Yes, Miss Gigi, I would absolutely recommend that somebody somewhere present something or take something to the league and say, let me help you put together this program because it's absolutely needed for these young ladies.
Okay. And would I be able to lean on you for some insight?
I will do anything I can to help you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love
Thank you.
it. This is what this community is about. That just made me so happy. But it's just up to us, y'all. Like I think sometimes whether you're a JUCO, you're in school, and I think this whole group right now of ladies span from I think we have high schoolers all the way up to retired pros, and it takes all of us to be able to make a change in this industry, and we're all capable of doing it.
All right, perfect. Cheryl, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for dropping words of wisdom today. This has been phenomenal. I have a quick question. So we see it time and time again, whether it's at, the high school, collegiate, or professional level. Officiating. What are some ways that we can improve the level of officiating? I know that, having a better relationship, having more, open communication, more accountability is obviously what's always being talked about on how that can change. But what do you think can really help to elevate the level of officiating, especially since the women are going to continue to get better every single year?
Yeah. Listen, I am just as hard on refs as anybody. The first thing I'm going to say is, yeah, like the refs are human. They're going to make mistakes. I think we all understand that. My biggest frustration is the inconsistencies. Like on one end, you call every ticky tack foul, and on the other end, you let them have bloody noses, black eyes, all the things. So my first thing is just being consistent, right? I don't know if you all saw this. Mark Cuban had a comment. I think this was yesterday. And he said the WNBA is bringing refs from the G League. So if they're not good enough to ref the G League, why do we think they're good enough to ref the W? And I agree with that. But to me, the bigger question or issue is if we're not getting them from the G League, then where are we going to get them from? Because the NBA refs, like they would look at it as a downgrade to come and ref the W. I don't think it is, but they would look at it that way. I just think when it comes to accountability, there are some refs that are just flat out terrible every single game. So if you're going to suspend Cheryl Reeve and fine her $15,000 for being angry, mad after all the things, which I was here for all of that. Like at what point do we hold refs accountable? Right? I don't know what that looks like. How do you do that? But if players and coaches are being fined for their comments and things they're doing, well, at some point, you got to start hitting the refs in their pocket some kind of way. Right? I told somebody this other day, could never be a ref because you're always going to make somebody upset. You're never going to get it right. My biggest thing again is just the inconsistency. I think that's what players are also asking for, is just being consistent. And to your point, it is only going to get worse because the players are continuing to get better and better and better, more athletic. I don't have an issue with physical play. I have an issue with dirty play, and I have an issue with the inconsistency. If you're gonna let me be physical and get all up in your space and play you the way I want to play you physically, then I also got to be able to take that on the other end. And to me, that's where the inconsistencies come in. And I think that's where the coaches get really frustrated, is when they see that game in and game out. So I don't have an answer for it. I don't know. I just don't know. Girl, I guess AI. How about that?
I
I mean,
mean,
AI is doing everything else, so they're gonna start reffing our games too.
I don't know. I think that takes away like a bit of the integrity from the game that humans feel. But I do feel like the refs that are coming in, they need to have played the game at a higher level to understand flow, to
I do like
understand
that.
all of those things. I mean, I know there's a couple other things that have come to mind to be able to help out with that. But again, at the end of the day, like I want to make sure the player safety that, yeah, like all of those things. But again, it's a work in progress, but I appreciate you for saying that.
You're what? Well, see, I'm sorry, because here's what happens, and I'll be done.
No worries.
Like the AT Nafisa play, right? I think that's where like players, coaches, they're like the refs are so bad because I I didn't think it was a foul. I thought it was a clean steal. Like AT, Sophie's dribbling, AT comes through, she steals the ball. It just so happened that Fee's body weight or whatever, like they just happen to run into each other. But other people are like, yeah, it was a foul because she undercut her. But from the view and angle I had, she didn't. So my point to that is if I'm a ref in that situation, you're not going to win. Because if you call a foul, Nate's going to be highly upset, and then you're going to have people saying that wasn't a foul, and you don't call the foul, and unfortunately, Fee gets hurt, right? So now everybody in Cheryl Reeve, they're like, "How dare you not call a foul?" So yeah, good luck with that one. I don't know.
Well, thank you so much for your question. I was seeing if Brandon wrote in
So
his.
Brandon,
Yeah, I don't.
what is your question? I know Brandon. I know Brandon.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
3 questions in one. The WNBA brings back, a team to Houston. Should we be called the Comets? And if not, what Galaxy name would you recommend? Because most of our teams are the Rockets, the Astros. And then the last question would be, and if we do, should we retire your jersey and Tina's under the new team with Coop and Kim?
Dang. I struggle with
Oh,
this
yeah.
because someone else asked me if Houston gets a team back, do we call them the Comets? And some days I'm like, yes, and other days I'm like, absolutely not. But then I think about Portland, right? And Portland's bringing back the fire.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm not gonna say one way or the other. I'm not sure. Dang, look at your hair. What are you doing?
It's getting long, right? It's usually
Yeah, I don't
braided.
like that.
It's usually
Okay, sorry. Go back
Shayla,
on.
it's usually braided.
Y'all, Brandon used to be a dancer for the Comets. So anyway, that's how we know each other. Do I think my jersey, Tina's jersey, should be retired along with Kim and Coop under the new team? First of all, I think it should be retired already under the Rockets.
Thanks.
But since that hasn't happened, of course, absolutely.
We're gonna say
What
it
was
here.
your third part? That was just
Well,
two.
that was the second part. And then the second part is if we did have a new name for the team, let's just
Oh,
say they came from the sun,
I don't know.
should we keep the sun, which is part of the galaxy, or should we,
Houston Suns doesn't sound right.
doesn't?
Mm-mm.
So we
Houston, I
should
don't.
we should keep the comments,
We got to
right?
keep the comments. Yeah, I love that. We got to keep the comments.
Okay.
I thought you were
Love
going to ask me
you.
if I were coach. I was going to say nope, but I'll be the GM.
I know you would.
I
Thank
would.
you for so much. Thank you for
Love
the questions.
you, boo.
Love you too.
All right, our last question before we wrap is gonna be Heather.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hi, Heather.
First of all, I just want to say it's amazing to have you here. It's
Thank
so
you.
amazing. Thank you
Amazing
for
to be
your
here.
time. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your wisdom. And I just have one question. So I work with high-level female entrepreneurs. I help them cultivate mindset, emotional resilience, the vision it takes to really lead at a high level. And I've always admired how you've not only dominated on the court, but have built such a powerful presence beyond it. So you paving the way for other people to step into bigger arenas of influence and impact is unprecedented. So thank you for that first. Looking back at the height of your career, you spoke on the support and the understanding that you felt was missing during your time, right? And the way those gaps are now showing up differently, but still exist for the women athletes today. If you could put one action in place immediately, just one, to benefit the athletes, what would it be and why?
If I could put one action in place, that would be to have a former player be involved with every team. And why? Because we've been there, right? I think there's so many valuable lessons that these players could gain from us that I feel like is lost or they're missing. And a lot of it has zero to do with basketball, but all the other things outside of basketball. And a lot of it I shared. Um, when you're playing and you're at the height of your career, and it's very different for these players today, just from a financial standpoint and the deals they have and all those things. But you know, being a part of something from the very beginning when a lot of this stuff didn't exist and to see where it is today, like I'm just so grateful that I'm still around to be able to see it. But I feel like there's so much that I have to offer these players that's invaluable, that a coach can't teach them, a coach can't tell them, because we've been there. Like I've been in your shoes, and so even for the players on here, like a Kanisha, right? Like I feel like that is part of my responsibility is to show you that and teach you that so that you don't make the mistakes that I made. I would love for you to learn from my mistakes than to do the same thing I did. That's the one thing, and I've said this forever. For whatever reason, the WNBA, like the league office, they try to pit the current players against the former players instead of bringing us together. And that's what I think the NBA does a really, really good job of, is keeping their retired players involved with the league in some capacity. Because to me, there's something special about keeping retired players or former players involved with the league that I don't care who you hire as a coach, there's just something special about that relationship. And that's something that I would do.
1,000%, 1,000%. Thank you so much. I do believe
You're
that
welcome.
immediate lived experience, wisdom, and mentorship would be priceless. Thank you so much.
You're
for
very
everything.
welcome. Thank you.
I love that. I love that. That was great. And I think when you brought that up too with the NBA, that does that pretty well. I think that's something that happens in a lot of women careers where they pin the old versus the new, and we have to come together, and that's why we have this community today. Because I mean, we see it right now with women rap right now. It's like no one can just give you the flowers for the barriers that you broke, and then just work together to climb up this ladder and help enhance everything.
Yeah.
But we thank you so much for your vulnerability, for like Heather said, your wisdom. We definitely want to support you though. You've been a pillar in this community. You are the first, and we want to make sure that our community continues to support you. So if you can go ahead and let us know what you're working on, if there's anything that you're doing, whether it's basketball related or personal, that the community here can support.
Dang, okay, how about that? First of all, thank you. And this was a lot of fun. You're so good at what you do. And to everybody on here, thank you for coming and sharing this space with us. Thank you for your questions. And I hope I said something that resonated with all of you on here, but at least one person. So, one thing that I definitely want to talk about is my YouTube channel. For those who don't know, I have a YouTube channel where my husband and I, we grow our own food, and we actually teach our young kids how to do the same thing, as well as adults. And I would love for y'all to subscribe and support. It's called Back to Our Roots Homestead. We got a little bit of everything on there. growing our food. We got chickens, all the things. And I know people are like, what, you? And I have to tell you, of everything that I've done, being able to just grow my own food and take care of people and feed people, is just, to me, it's the most important thing that I've honestly done, even including my playing career. And I got a couple of things I'm working on that's not public knowledge yet, but I'm about to put it out here so y'all will know. So I'm working on a cooking show that will be me taking food from my garden, cooking it. So we're working on that, and I'm working on a talk show. And the talk show will be it's going to be one of one. And for that name is being the first to do so many things. I feel like all of us were one of one in our own right. And so it'll be me sitting down with incredible, amazing people and talking about them, their journey, their story, and what makes them one of one. And I'm putting it in the atmosphere because I believe in doing that. I want my very first guest to be Michelle Obama.
Oh, we're putting it out. Speak that.
Right? I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it out there.
And I want everyone to direct themselves to the chat because her YouTube link is in the chat. So we definitely will subscribe and support. And we're already going to claim that Michelle Obama will be your first guest.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, thank you for your time tonight. Thank you, ladies, that joined us. I know we went overboard, but it was so meaningful.
Oh, look at my grandbaby before we go. Yep, that's my grandbaby.
Oh
Can
my
y'all
God.
believe that little boy has a baby?
I love it.
Oh,
And everyone stay in tune with the Baller Fam app, and you guys can continue to share and even tell us what guests you would like to see us have. But until next time, thank you so much.